Hey everybody, welcome to Live on Wednesdays. Today we're going to talk about our brain and how can we support our brain. Okay, so we know that as we get older, our brain is going to decline, just like everything else in our body. It deteriorates and it declines. We have no control of that. We are imperfect. That's something we have no control about. However, we do have control of certain things that support our brain. It's interesting, one doctor had said that Alzheimer's begins as much as 30 years before you ever even experience the first symptom of it. Can you imagine that? 30 years? So I guess I have some work to do to catch up. That's all I can say. But that really makes sense because, I mean, it's like a car in my opinion, you know. We have all the dashboard with all those warning lights and everything on them, which some people affectionately call idiot lights, because by the time something pops up on your dashboard, it's already too late. There's already something wrong. It's not like a preventative light. We don't have preventative lights that go on in our body necessarily. So by the time we have a symptom that pops up, unless you're really in tune to your body, then there is something, you know, more serious going on. I mean, take the liver, for example. When you have a sign of a liver malfunction, it's really usually pretty advanced. That's just one example. So, as I mentioned, there are certain things that we do have control of to help slow down this process. So, what are some of these things? Number one is staying hydrated. Did you know that your brain is 75% water? That's huge. So when we are hydrated, it helps to increase our blood flow. That in turn increases our oxygen, which regulates stress and anxiety, which brings calmness to the brain, which helps for a restful night's sleep. And when we sleep, our whole body benefits from it. Not just our brain, but our whole body does. Our brain can rest. It can turn itself off. It's not working like, around the clock 24/7. We don't want that. Okay, number two. Oh, sorry. Other things about being hydrated. It increases your brain's temperature, okay? So when that happens, it allows your brain to remove toxins and dead cells. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of like the idea of dead cells being removed from my brain, because anytime something is dead, it continues to decompose and ferments, and I don't need any of that stuff in my brain. So dehydration, on the other hand, though, is a loss of concentration. That means you can't focus, you won't be able to think, your cognitive ability is being decreased. It's also will cause a decrease in memory function, which means it's harder to memorize things. And I know we sometimes will laugh about it as you get older. Oh, I can't do that anymore. But maybe there's something that we can be doing about it. Make sure we are staying hydrated. Okay, number two, cholesterol. What? Cholesterol? Yeah, there is good cholesterol, which we know. There's good and bad cholesterol. But your brain has its own unique cholesterol. And your brain has the highest cholesterol content than any other organ. In fact, 25% of your body's whole cholesterol is found in the brain. the your brain cannot uptake or utilize the cholesterol from other parts of the body, like from your bloodstream or anything like that, because of that blood-brain barrier. So it has to produce its own. This cholesterol actually is more stable than any other that's found in other organs in your body, because when it's broken down, your brain recycles it and makes new cholesterol out of it. So your brain is its own cholesterol making machine. Number 3, fat. I don't know, you remember when there was the no fat diet or the fat-free diet, not low fat, but no fat diet, fat-free diet. I remember telling people that your body needs some fat in order to function properly. Well, get this. Your brain is a minimum of 60% fat. It is the fattest organ in the body. So naturally, it's going to need fat in order to function. And we're not talking hydrogenated fats. That's like, we don't want that stuff. But we're talking healthy fats like your omega-3s, your omega-6s. These are vital. They are the essential building blocks for learning and memory in the brain. Healthy fat helps to stabilize the cell walls in the brain. It helps reduce inflammation and helps the immune system function properly. Fats are very important for brain function. Number 4, potassium. Now there's a lot of different minerals and a lot of things that are needed to support proper brain function. I can't go into all of them here, there's just too many, but these are just some things that stuck out for me. Potassium, think of the brain. The brain is part of the nervous system, right? It contains 100 billion neurons, which make up 10% of the brain. Sounds like a lot, but that's only 10% of your brain. But it needs potassium to function. Potassium helps to create that electricity, so to speak, to go back and forth, for the cells to go back and forth and to communicate with each other. So this affects learning, it affects the release of hormones, it affects metabolism. Speaking of learning, if you don't have this proper amount of potassium, you can have trouble retaining information, trouble focusing, brain fog. Memory loss and confusion are common side effects in people with low or deficient potassium amounts. Number 5, GABA. Capital G, capital A, capital B, capital A. I'm not going to tell you what all that means. You can just Google it if you want to. It is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Its most important function is in the brain. So when GABA levels are low, it is difficult for the body to relax after like a fight or flight syndrome or something like that, like a stress-induced neurotransmitter release. And this can lead to anxiety, depression, insomnia, mood disorders, things like that. And just kind of hang in there. It's actually connected to potassium. Kind of interesting. So one researcher said, I call GABA or GABA the brakes of the brain, because it is the body's most important inhibitory or hold back neurotransmitter. That means it's going to lower the activity of your neural cells in the brain and central nervous system. So that means it's going to slow you down, calm you down, give you overall mental and physical balance. It plays a role in immune and endocrine systems. I mean, just a whole bunch of stuff that it plays a role in. But it's here in the brain, okay? So if you are deficient in GABA, GABA, you may see anxiety, chronic stress, depression, muscle pain and aches, insomnia, and other sleep problems, and notice this, difficulty concentrating and memory problems. These are all brain activities. Now, what's interesting is that there is a study that showed that an increase of potassium, increased levels of potassium, significantly increased levels of GABA, more so than just normal levels of potassium. It also increased levels of glutamate, which also is needed to increase your levels of GABA. So isn't that interesting that, I mean, everything kind of works together always, you know. And there's so many other things that you can do to increase GABA, but one thing that I like to bring out is that foods, of course, are always a really good source for increased potassium. We know bananas are good. They're, you know, known for having high potassium levels. There's other foods as well. But something that I found really interesting, Ningxia wolfberries. There's all kinds of, or goji berries. There's all kinds of different goji berries. But Ningxia goji berries, or Ningxia wolfberries from the Ningxia province of China, are known for their high nutritional content. And the Ningxia wolfberry is 4 times higher in potassium than bananas. Like, jaw dropper, right? Potassium is considered the single most important mineral to human health and longevity. It is essential for normal electrolyte and pH balance within the cells. It helps reduce your blood pressure levels, both systolic and diastolic. So I cannot stress enough about the importance of potassium, and what an easy way and source of getting large amounts of it, but by eating Ningxia wolfberries. So these are just a few of the tips that I was able to pick up. I mean, there's a lot more, but I just can't include them all in this today. So I hope you learned something and take away something from this. Now, go be awesome.